This is a quick one that I did up earlier today that probably only took me about 20 minutes, so what we'll be doing today will be a lot more detailed, but this is to get an idea of what we'll be doing today. I'll be walking you through how to mix all of these colors, as well as what kind of brush strokes you should be aiming for to achieve these shapes. The mock-up that I did as well is landscape, however I'm going to be doing today's version is in portrait, but I'm going to be doing today's in landscape because I want to illustrate the fact that it doesn't matter what size canvas you're working with today, you'll be able to put something together. In terms of paint colors that we're gonna need today, I'm gonna be using black and white. Brand doesn't really matter. Ideally, you just want something that's gonna be pigmented so that you're not using 8 times the amount of paint just to get it to change color. Black and white, red, green. Specifically, I'm going to be using alizarin crimson and hooker's green. You're going to want blue. I'm using cerulean blue hue specifically, but any shade will do, whatever you have handy. And I'm going to be using yellow as well. I have the cadmium yellow deep hue in my palette today. To start this painting, brush wise, I'm just going to use a basic wash brush, something big enough that you'll be able to paint a large area of the canvas relatively quickly and with ease. I'm gonna put some white onto my palette and some of that cerulean blue hue. Alright, so I'm mixing my blue and my white just to get a nice light blue color, and I'm going to sweep that across the canvas and cover the upper half, so probably from about, actually the upper 2/3, more like the upper 2/3. But it's going to be a nice kind of sunset water landscape. Ooh, next color I'm gonna bring onto my palette is black. I'm gonna get some black on there. Let me get my brush a little wet. I'm gonna take some of the black color. I'm gonna take some of the white because I don't want it to be a pitch black. And I'm gonna take a little bit of the blue and I'm gonna mix that together until we get a dark, like an almost black, but not quite black, ish blue color. And that's the color that I'm going to put on the bottom of the canvas. It's okay if this line isn't perfect. We're gonna be adding a lot to the horizon, so it doesn't have to be a perfectly straight line. Oh, I said I was gonna do this landscape. I'm such a dummy. I'm such a air cadet. I'll have to paint over that, but that's okay. Alright. Now, one of the reasons why I wanted this bottom color to be like a bluish black and not pure black is because a lot of the features that we're going to be putting in will be in like pure black color. Next color I'm going to be putting on the palette is my alizarin crimson, but again, you can pretty much use any color red. We're just going to be using it to mix with other colors anyway. So now I'm going to take the red and I'm going to take some of the blue, so we'll get a nice purple going. I'm gonna just paint that. I'm gonna get some of the excess water off my brush actually. And we're just gonna paint that at the top corners of our painting. And in a crisscross pattern, we're gonna extend that color into the middle and slightly down. And don't reload your brush with paint. We want the paintbrush to run out as we work. And I'm just doing crisscross brush strokes. So now I'm gonna take that purple that we have and I'm gonna take a little bit of the white just to give it a stronger pigmentation. And I don't want my brush to be too saturated, but I'm just gonna go over the cloud space a little bit to thicken it up and to give it a little bit of an ombre. And again, I'm not gonna be reloading my brush. I want the paint to come off on the canvas where it comes off. And I'm just trying to fill in the spaces where you can see the blue still. If you didn't see what I did there, it just like got the remaining pigment off my brush and then swept it back up so that I could apply it again. Alright, now I'm gonna clean my brush. And I'm gonna get that cadmium yellow deep hue. I take some white and mix that with the yellow. I'm gonna grab a little bit of the red and I'm trying to get almost like a peachy color. Alright, now I'm gonna take that color and I'm gonna do my same kind of crisscross motion. I want that to be darker. gonna mix it with the purple color that we had. Yeah. And I'm gonna do that on the bottom of the clouds. This part you can feel free to reload your brush if you need to. Too pigmented or thick. So then what you can do is, and what I've done is take a paper towel and just keep it by your palette and dab your brush like this if you need to wipe off some of the pigment. I'm gonna take the purple mixture that I had, or rather I'm gonna remake it, but I'm going to add a little bit of white to it so I can brighten it. Ooh, not that much. Not that much. There we go. But yeah, just brightening it a little bit. And then, now this is the part where you get to decide, but I'm gonna do as many as I want, and you can do as many as you want. But we're gonna add in some more clouds. And with these clouds, we're starting with the purple again, and then we're gonna detail the bottoms with that same kind of peachy color that we did before. Alright, everything's dry. I'm going to brew up some more of that peachy color. Alright, I mixed some blue into it because I want it to actually be a lot duller of a color. Duller of a color. Oh my words. Oh my. When you're doing the crisscross for the clouds, you want to use very light pressure. You don't want a lot of pigment to come off all at once. Now, depending on where you want your light source, you can have it in the center. I'm gonna have mine just slightly off center, because if you're ever wondering where to place things in a painting, quick composition pro tip is to always go asymmetrical. Gives the eye something more interesting to look at. Drawing a portrait straight on can be nice and can be pretty, but you'd be surprised just shifting it over to like 1/3 of the canvas or 2/3 of the canvas or whatever will make so much more of a difference. And so the same goes for the light source in today's painting. I'm going to be having mine probably around here. So with that in mind, that's where I'm choosing to place my lighter color that I've made. On the bottoms of the clouds that would be affected by the light source. I'm adding in some more clouds that would be smaller, closer to the light source, or where the light source is going to be, I should say. Alright, next I'm going to be taking my yellow. Let's try, yeah. I'm gonna take some yellow, some red, make a nice orange. Try not to get any blue in it. Gonna get some white, brighten that up. Now, without having too much pigment on the brush, I'm going to brush out the area where I want my sun to be. I'm going to make kind of a dome shape. But your edges should be very soft because there isn't a lot of pigment on your brush. I'm gonna wait for the center of the dome to dry before adding the next color. Alright, I just took some white and some yellow. And I'm just concentrating that on the center of the light source. When I start to run out of pigment on my brush, I do what's called dry brushing to help blend the two colors. Sometimes if you try to build up too much pigment, some of it gets removed. It's the reminder to be patient, let your paint dry. So I added a little bit of red to the bright yellow mixture that I made, and I'm just using the same kind of dry brushing on the edges of the orange. I'm going to take some of the yellow, and this is going to be water, so I'm just going to paint some lines very, very lightly across the bottom part, and that's going to be our reflection. The lines are not necessarily straight, they're not necessarily connecting, they're just lines. Just don't even think about it. Just brush to canvas. And then the same, I'm gonna take the color that I used on the outside. I'm going to add in some more lines, reflecting the image that we painted in the sky. And you can do a couple stray lines of the orangish color. Just around, not too many, but just a couple. And with a clean brush, I'm gonna go in to the blue color and mix it with some white to get that blue sky shade. And you guessed it, reflection. So I'm gonna take the black, and I'm just going in with straight black. along the horizon, I'm gonna paint mountains or hills. It's your world. I'm gonna get more pigment on my brush. And I start out with a relatively straight line, and I'm just gonna wiggle my brush and that's how I'm gonna decide where my hills and my mountains will be. Honestly, it's inspired from a photo that I saw on Instagram, and I thought, oh man, that would make a wicked painting. Like, it looked like it would be something that would be relatively easy to teach. Or not easy to teach, but like easy to do and learn. So easy to teach in that aspect, because there isn't too much of a learning curve, I don't think. Now, if you're not sure how to add trees, I'm gonna show you once the paint dries a little bit, so I can add more pigment on. I'm gonna use my destroyed filbert brush to do my trees in the distance. Now, you can do your landscape flat, however, I want to add a little bit more depth to this painting, so I'm going to alter the perspective and actually draw my horizon line a little diagonally towards the corner, so that I can make my trees bigger and more in the foreground on the left side. So I'm taking my messed up filbert brush and I'm getting into the black paints again, and I'm just gonna kind of too much water in the brush. Alright, I'm just going to press it onto the canvas like so. So the side kind of becomes like a trunk, and then the end kind of bushes out. This is how I destroy all my brushes, by the way. One of the many ways. Actually, I have to talk about my trees. Now I'm gonna take a smaller brush than the first brush I used to make my trees, and I'm going to get the Hooker's Green onto my palette. Alright, I'm gonna take a smaller brush, slightly smaller than the brush that I used to do the tree line originally. I'm gonna load that up with some green. And in the same way, or in a similar way to how we lined our brush up on the side and pressed to create our tree line, we're gonna do that focusing on this part of our tree line to add in some color. As you get closer to the edge of your canvas, keep your green color to the top of your tree line. The only time you should actually be able to see the bottom of a tree is towards the area that I pointed out at the start. Now we're gonna do similar on the other side. However, we're not going to touch the bottom because it's further away, so we're not going to be able to see that kind of detail. If you want, you can take a little bit of that kind of peachy, orangey yellow color, for lack of a better descriptor, and using a little bit of dry brushing, apply it to the tops of kind of mountain range or hilly area in the background. I'm just gonna grab my filbert brush because it'll be easier to do this with it, but I'm gonna get some of the black pigment on and add a reflection, because while we have our tree line starting here, we don't actually have any evidence of that in the water, so I'm going to add that now. Alright, and with that we have our second ever paint-along. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the process. You can feel free to take as much or as little time as you would like on detailing your piece, because truthfully, this is just a guideline for creating your own personal painting and for dipping your feet into the element, whatever medium you choose. Hopefully you guys enjoyed painting along. I'm gonna try to keep the paint-alongs toward the end of the month, and usually a landscape, but I don't know if I'll be keeping it to seasonal. I don't know if I'm gonna limit it or if I'm going to branch out and maybe go outside the season box. But I'd love to get some feedback from you guys on that, and if you participated, please post it in Discord or on social media, and make sure to tag me if you do so that I can see it.